What's the point of all this? What are you doing? And wouldn't tell you anything that they seem to have done to grow the economy? Why make such a big deal about it if you haven't actually got something to trump about? Breaking. A TV host just detonated on a government minister live on air and the internet can't stop watching. Eamonn. Holmes didn't ease into it, didn't build up to it. Within 60 seconds of sitting down with Labour's Darren Jones on GB News, he snapped. I'm fed up, Holmes said, cutting off the Treasury chief mid-sentence. And I'm not taking this anymore. This wasn't a debate. This was a verbal execution, and it's gone absolutely viral. Here's what happened. It's budget day. Rachel Reeves is about to unveil her autumn budget in Parliament. GB News books Darren Jones, the chief secretary to the Treasury, basically number 2 at the Treasury for what should be a standard interview. Softball questions, pre-rehearsed. Answers, business as usual. Except Eamonn. Holmes wasn't playing business as usual. And if you're tired of politicians dodging questions with rehearsed nonsense, you need to see this full breakdown. Hit subscribe so you don't miss moments like these, because what happened next is a masterclass in calling out political theater. Holmes opens with a perfectly reasonable question. How are you viewing the budget? And what are you hoping it will achieve? Simple, straightforward. The kind of opener that politicians normally love because it lets them trot out their prepared talking points about investing in public services and building a better Britain. But Jones immediately deflects. Well, I can't reveal what the Chancellor has put in the budget. Holmes cuts him off instantly. No, I didn't ask you that. You can hear it in his voice. The frustration, the exhaustion. This is a man who's conducted thousands of interviews over a 40-year career, and he's reached his breaking point with political theater. Because here's the thing. Nobody asked Jones to reveal the budget. The question was about his hopes and expectations. That's an opinion question, not a leak the contents question. But Jones went straight to the politician's playbook. Deflect with false modesty about confidentiality. And Eamonn had absolutely none of it. Then he unloads. I'm fed up of leaked stories coming from your end about what's in the budget. The Chancellor went on and released a YouTube video last night telling us more and more. And then you sit here and say you can't speculate. All this business of you can't speculate. As if we asked you. I didn't ask you. Number 1. Number 2, you're telling us anyway. It's been leaked, 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 leaked 5 times. He said leaked 5 times for emphasis. This is the moment that's ricocheted across social media because Eamonn isn't just calling out Darren Jones. He's calling out the entire charade of budget secrecy. Here's how the game works. For weeks leading up to any budget, government ministers and their special advisors brief journalists about what's coming. They leak tax hikes here, spending cuts there, policy changes everywhere. They do it to test public reaction, to manage expectations, to control the narrative before the official announcement. Then these same politicians sit on television and perform this elaborate pantomime. Oh, I couldn't possibly comment. It's budget day. Everything's top secret until the Chancellor stands up in Parliament. Theater. Everyone knows it's theater. The journalists know it. The politicians know it. The viewers at home know it. But the game continues because that's how Westminster has always operated. Except Damon Holmes decided he was done watching the performance. Jones tries to recover. He acknowledges there have been a couple of leaks which have been totally unacceptable and not very helpful. Couple of leaks. That's adorable. The entire budget has been systematically leaked over the past 2 weeks. We already know about the fuel duty freeze or lack thereof. We know about the sugar tax expansion. We know about national insurance hikes for employers. We know about changes to non-dom tax status. We know about capital gains adjustments. At this point, Rachel Reeves could just email out a summary and skip the common speech entirely. The budget isn't secret. It hasn't been secret for days. Jones tries to deflect blame by saying there's plenty of speculation from the media and commentators, which is technically true, but dishonest. The media speculation is based on briefings from government sources. You can't leak information to journalists and then clutch your pearls when they report what you told them. But here's where the interview takes an even more brutal turn. Eamonn's co-host, Ellie Costello, drops a statistical bomb. Keir Starmer and Rachel Reeves are now the most unpopular Prime Minister and Chancellor on record. Let that sink in. On record, that means they're less popular than Liz Truss and Kwasi Kwarteng, whose catastrophic mini-budget crashed the economy, sent mortgage rates soaring, required Bank of England intervention, and destroyed their government in 49 days. That's the bar. And Starmer and Reeves have somehow gone lower. Labour won a landslide victory just 6 months ago with a majority of 174 seats. They have more power than any government in recent memory, and they've already hit record unpopularity. That's not just bad. That's historically catastrophic. Costello mentions rumors circulating among Labour MPs about ousting both leaders, then asks Jones point blank, do you have full confidence in them on budget day? It's beautifully brutal interviewing because it forces Jones into a corner. If he says anything other than, yes, absolutely, the headlines write themselves. Treasury Minister refuses to back Prime Minister. So, obviously Jones laughs it off and says, of course he has full confidence. But the question itself tells you everything. 6 months into a massive majority, a government minister is being asked on live television whether his own party leaders are about to be removed. That's not normal. That's a government in crisis. Jones insists and Reeves are absolutely committed to implementing change, which is politicians speak for. Please stop asking if they're about to get ousted. Then Ian pivots to the sugar tax, and this is where he truly explodes. Health Secretary West Streeting has just announced that packaged sugary drinks, bottled coffees, energy drinks, sweetened beverages sold in supermarkets will be hit with a new sugar tax for the first time. The stated reason: public health, tackling obesity, reducing the burden on the NHS. Jones tries to defend it. This is predominantly a health measure to tackle chronic diseases, which are massive challenges for people, for the NHS, and for the economy. Ian loses it. It's not a health measure. It's not a health measure. He's practically shouting now. His exasperation is palpable. And here's why. He's absolutely right to be furious. The government is taxing packaged drinks you buy in supermarkets, but they're not taxing the exact same sugary drinks sold in cafes and coffee shops. Think about that. If you walk into Starbucks and order a venti caramel frappuccino with whipped cream, which contains more sugar than a can of Coke, you pay no extra tax. But if you buy a nearly identical bottled frappuccino from the chiller aisle at Tesco, you're getting hammered with additional charges. The sugar content is the same. The calorie count is the same. The health impact on your body is identical. The contribution to obesity rates is identical. The only difference is where you're buying it. So how on earth can the government claim this is a health measure if the genuine goal is reducing sugar consumption and improving public health? You tax all sugary drinks. You don't arbitrarily pick and choose based on retail location. Either sugar is a public health crisis that requires taxation or it isn't. You can't have it both ways. Eamonn nails the hypocrisy. Either it's about health, in which case you tax all of them, or it's about revenue, in which case just admit you need the money. This selective taxation makes it look like the government is either incompetent or dishonest, probably both. And the cynic in all of us knows what's really happening here. It's far easier administratively to tax packaged goods sold in supermarkets than it is to tax individual drinks made to order in thousands of independent cafes. You can slap the tax on manufacturers and distributors and call it done. Taxing cafes requires an entirely different enforcement mechanism. So the government took the easy option and dressed it up as a health initiative. Jones offers nothing but word salad in response. Chronic diseases are massive challenges for people, the NHS, and the economy. This is one measure along with other measures to make sure food manufacturers are producing their products in as healthy a way as possible. Notice what he didn't do. He didn't answer the question, why are packaged drinks taxed but cafe drinks aren't? He's got no answer because there isn't one that makes sense. Now let's zoom out for a second, because this interview matters beyond just being entertaining television. What you're witnessing here is a massive disconnect between how politicians think they should communicate and what the public actually wants to hear. Darren Jones walked into that studio with a clear game plan: deliver some pre-estayed lines about the budget being fair and balanced, talk about tough decisions and investing in public services, deflect difficult questions with technical jargon and appeals to complexity, survive the interview without making headlines, standard playbook stuff. But he ran face first into a broadcaster who simply wasn't interested in playing along anymore. He didn't want the performance. He didn't want the spin. He didn't want the carefully workshopped talking points that mean nothing. He wanted answers, real answers, the kind of straightforward responses that normal people expect when they ask a simple question. And when he didn't get them, he called it out publicly, bluntly, with visible frustration that millions of viewers feel every single time they watch politicians dodge accountability on television. This is what happens when someone finally says what we're all thinking. The budget leaks aren't new. Politicians have been pulling this stunt for decades. The hypocrisy on sugar taxation isn't unique. Governments constantly implement incoherent policies. The evasive non-answers are standard operating procedure in Westminster. None of this is new, but having a veteran broadcaster call it out in real time with genuine exasperation, refusing to nod along and move to the next question, that's rare, and that's exactly why this interview has exploded. Across social media, people are sharing it not because it's shocking, but because it's validating. Finally, someone with a platform said. Finally, the absurdity got called. Finally, someone pushed back on the nonsense instead of facilitating it. This interview is a masterclass in not suffering fools gladly. It's a reminder that when politicians come armed with talking points and deflections, the most effective response isn't more polite questioning. It's calling out the game itself. Eamonn Holmes did exactly that. He broke the fourth wall of political interviewing and said what the audience is screaming at their screens. This is nonsense. We all know it's nonsense, and I'm not going to pretend otherwise. And viewers are responding because they're desperate for that kind of honesty. They're exhausted by politicians who speak in empty phrases. They're frustrated by interviewers who let them get away with it. They want someone to actually hold power to account instead of providing a platform for rehearsed propaganda. That's what made this moment Viral. Not the spectacle of conflict, but the satisfaction of validation. If you're as fed up with political waffle as Eamonn clearly is, this is your channel. We break down the moments where politicians get caught in their own contradictions, where the spin stops working, where someone finally asks the questions that matter. Subscribe now so you never miss these takedowns. Because, trust me, as long as politicians keep dodging and deflecting, we'll keep calling it out. And drop a comment. Do you think Eamonn went too far or not far enough? Let's hear it.